let's get started.
Everybody, welcome to the bonus stage, episode number 5. I was just getting my slow groove on. I was just sitting there, kind of just.
Yeah, me too. It's a good tune.
Oh, I love that tune. As always, I'm your host, Lloyd Hannison, and joining me, Jeff Ward, wearing his Blue Jays cap. You never wear that to the show.
I think this is the first time I've ever worn this hat ever.
Is it new? Did you just get it off a rack somewhere?
Yeah.
You stole it off of some random coat rack around the city?
Yeah, I picked it up in Value Village. It's they're not that popular or anything like that. So.
No. Well, that's true. The rest of the stuff that we're saying is not true.
Oh man.
The Blue Jays are popular in Canada. They're the only MLB
Canada's
team.
Canada's team.
They kind of have to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, the bonus stage, episode 5. As I said, we're recording this late. Well, not too late. 10 o'clock on
Actually,
Friday.
Early.
Yeah, we're recording at 10:01. Normally we start recording a little bit after. We do a little bit more pre-show and a little bit more kind of just stuff. But this time we're actually recording right at 10 o'clock. This is, as I said, episode number 5, and this is recorded on Friday, August 17th, 2012. Bonus stage, of course, is your view into the gaming world that we record live each and every Friday over at vgpodcast.com/live. We talk about games, we talk about reviews, we talk about geek and game culture, so web series, maybe we can start talking about gaming movies and comics and all that fun stuff. Anything that's gaming tangentially related, we're all on that.
And we also take requests as well too.
We do.
So if you want us to talk about something or go into more depth about something we've already talked about, send us an email, let us know, vgpodcast@gmail.com. And let us know what you want us to talk about.
Exactly. No, we would rather do stuff that you guys want to hear instead of just talking for our own enjoyment and amusement. So definitely let us know what you want us to do, and we'd be happy to oblige you. So as I said, we record this every Friday, so please do come join the live show. We got a bunch of people joining in the chat room as we go along. So hopefully a bunch more people will get in as we. As my buddy from work just jumped in. I was harassing him on text message earlier, so he's coming in to put me in my place. Hello, Doug. Welcome. And no, you're not old. You're here at 10 o'clock, so that's good. All right, so let's do this. The bonus stage, the first section that we talk about is usually what we've been playing. So, Jeff, I know you've been busy, so this is probably going to be really, really short for you, but why don't you tell us what you've been playing?
This week has been crazy. I mean, I feel like a broken record because the two things I mentioned on the show are how busy my week has been and how much I hate Kickstarter. This week is no exception. I'm just filming all the time, but I got about 5 hours of video games in, most of which was actually on the weekend after we did this show. My girlfriend is a big fan, and I'm not quite sure where this came from, but is a huge fan of the game Saints Row the Third. She just bought it on a whim when it was on Steam. I think it was $10 or something, and played the hell out of it. Beat it in 3 or 4 days or something, and it looked like a lot of fun. It's Saints Row has been one of those series that's stuck around and is a very good competitor to Grand Theft Auto. And I'm a huge Grand Theft Auto fan. I've played every game in the series. I think they're really, really strong games. Really excited for Grand Theft Auto 5. But I've never played a Saints Row. And she's like, oh, you got to play it. And I'm trying to, and the Optimum War here is trying to save money. And I'm like, I don't really know if I should go buy a video game. It's probably going to be $30 used or something. But I convinced her, or strong-armed her, into buying it for me. And I went and I traded in Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Future Soldier and ended up picking up Saints Row the Third on the 360. I believe it cost $15 after trade or something like that. But man, is it a ton of fun. I don't know. Have you played it, Lloyd?
I have not. I've played some of the other ones, but I've not played. I've not played this particular one. Although I do know that you can beat people up about the facial head area with giant, oversized, novelty adult sexual aids. From watching the ads, so that's always fun.
Yeah, it's a crazy game. It's totally over the top and just yeah, I know what, I don't think there is a better game in the history of gaming that does over the top destruction and crazy set piece action than this game because unlike Grand Theft Auto, and this is going to sound weird, but Grand Theft Auto is a little bit more realistic, where like if you smash into a car and there's a cop car by, he's going to chase you and then it's going to be this huge thing with eventually a bunch of helicopters on the SWAT team are going to come in and try to take you down. And most of the time they will succeed because they're relentless. But in Saints Row, everyone bows down to the criminals and it's like being a criminal is this like celebrity status that they get, if you there's sometimes like I smashed this guy into a brick wall with my car, right? Killed him outright. My car blew up, and then I got out, and there's like this burning heap of wreckage and this body lying on the ground that I just smashed into a wall. And then this person runs up on the street and is like, "Hey, can I take your picture?" And like you sign an autograph and you take a picture with them because they're a huge fan of you. So that's really cool. It just does over the top so well. There's a great music library in this game. A lot of there's stuff like sleigh bells in there. There's Kanye West in there. It's just a blast to play. The only thing, there's a few things that I don't like about it. Sometimes the dialogue is just, they're really trying to push how bad it is on purpose, but sometimes it really falls flat. And the other thing is the difficulty is not balanced. It's either way too easy or extremely difficult. And there's no in between where they just ramp up the challenge or, I'm playing on the normal difficulty and not casual so that I can go down if things get too hard, but it's not balanced difficulty wise. It's either, like I said, it's way too easy where you just destroy everyone, or this mission I was just playing before I came on and we did the pre-show where it was just so friggin' hard and there's no cover system, which really bites.
Right.
So it's like you're just kind of like you stand behind an object or you crouch behind an object, but also you're pretty indestructible for the most part. It does take quite a bit to wear you down. But if there's like 50 guys in a room and they're all just like shooting automatic guns at you, you do go down pretty easy. But it's a fun game. It's definitely worth its salt. And from what I was watching when Carly was playing it, the game just gets absurdly crazy. I believe the game actually ends on Mars when you're fighting space aliens.
Come on, spoilers, man. Spoilers.
Yeah, that's not really a spoiler because there's no story to this game that somebody's going to get mad at. But it's just it's just a crazy friggin' game and it's a ton of fun. And, if you haven't played it, I do highly recommend it because it is, and the way the game starts, you're robbing a bank and you pick up the safe with a helicopter and then all these SWAT guys come in and you're standing on top of the safe and the helicopter's swinging around and you're hanging onto the cable shooting guys and then another helicopter comes and tries to take you out and you're smashing into buildings. It's insane. It's just absolutely insane.
Cool.
That's the best way to describe it. It's just insanity wall to wall and it's a ton of fun.
That's awesome. It's on my list of if I ever see it on sale or in a bin, pick it up because I really want that game because I've seen some of the screens and heard a lot of people talk about it and it just seems like just insane fun.
Well, when I'm done with it, I'll let you borrow it because it's not a game that I think I will go back to once I finish it. I'll probably just trade it in for something else, but it's definitely worth the money. And the other thing I've been playing, which is something again I mention every week, is MLB The Show. But I'm playing a ton on the Vita because I've been watching baseball on TV and playing on the Vita as well at the same time. And I still can't say enough about this game. I'm starting to notice things that, aren't as realistic as I thought they were in the beginning. Bunting is one of the things that, you don't see it a lot in the American League, but bunting is a very good tactic in Major League Baseball, if there's any baseball fans out there that know what I'm talking about. And in real life, you can show bunt and then pull the bat back and, if the ball is going to not come into the strike zone. But here in this game, you either hold down the button and show bunt and you take a strike regardless, or you just don't show bunt. So there are things that, aren't as tight as I would like them to be. And I probably have heard all of the commentary. Well, no, I've definitely heard all the commentary the game has to offer, but 20 or 30 times over now. I'm over 120 games into the season, and it is starting to get really obnoxious to listen to these guys. So usually what I do is I turn the volume all the way down and just listen to the one on TV, because the guys commentating, I mean, granted, that's a really hard thing to code into a game, is the commentary for a sports game, because you're looking at limitless lines of dialogue that you have to write, right? So they do a pretty good job of it, but it repeats a lot, and it's starting to get very obnoxious.
Right. You'll have to play with that off.
Yeah.
That'll be it. That'll solve it for you. Cool. Yeah. So it's good to know that you're playing some games and keeping relaxed. I've been playing some as well. Although this week has been pretty insane. I've been.
You sound like me.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of stuff at work and a lot of stuff at home, so I haven't really been able to play as much on the consoles as I would like. But I have been playing a lot of iOS stuff. I talked about it on the Touch of Gaming podcast, another weekly show that I do talking about iOS stuff. I'll talk about one of those games. I've still been playing Sound Shapes on my PlayStation 3. And Sound Shapes just continues to be one of the best games I've played on a console in a long time, as far as addictive it is. I talked about it last week. You're basically making music by collecting coins in a platformer, just like a really kind of strange blend of visuals and audio. Such a great game. I'm really, really enjoying it. So if you haven't checked it out yet, go download the demo and play it. It's a lot of fun. Definitely a game worth playing. One game that I wanted to check out, but I haven't had a chance to, is Popo and Yo, which is another game that came out on PlayStation Store as their summer celebration. Basically, it's about a guy, or a kid rather, and his imagination, and bringing his imagination to life in the world. Looks really cute and charming, and apparently it's a game that can affect you emotionally as well. There's a lot of emotion thrown into the story. It's been getting some mixed reviews. Some people are saying it's one of the best games that they've played in a long time. Other people are saying that it's a horrible game, rife with bugs. So I definitely want to check it out as well, and do that as well, because it looks like a really great PlayStation 3 game. So hopefully for next week I'll be able to chat a little bit about that.
Cool.
The game that I've been playing the most on my iPad is a game called Horn, which just came out. It's by a development company that made Dark Meadow on iOS, and they made some other stuff as well. They programmed some stuff for Kinect, for your Xbox 360, of course. And what this game is it's a blending of Infinity Blade 2, of Zelda, and of Fable, which sounds really odd to say, but if you watch any of the kind of the walkthroughs, you'll see it right away. It has the kind of controls of Infinity Blade, so you're swiping to attack, to do any damage, you're swiping on the screen and then tapping buttons to dodge. So just like Infinity Blade, it's instead of Infinity Blade where you're just going from one place to another on rails, instead it's an open world that has puzzles to solve. So you're going to have to find ways to make doors open and collect items and things. So that's where kind of the Zelda comes in. And then I like to include Fable as well when I'm describing it to people, because it has a really interesting art style, very kind of whimsical art style, and very kind of British. And the voice actors are obviously European of some form, whether they're British or something else. They definitely have that kind of British feel to it. So it's like playing Fable as well. And it's great. It's all over the place as far as what you're doing, but it's really enjoyable. From some of the reviews, they're saying that it's about 10 hours worth of gameplay.
Wow.
For an iOS game. I mean, that's pretty decent. It's definitely worth checking out. It's $7. It's actually the first game to be released under Zynga's partner program, so they're going to be doing kind of the publishing thing as well on the iOS platform. So
instead of just stealing games, they're now buying them and distributing them.
Yeah, instead of stealing the whole idea and going through the hard work of developing the game themselves, they're just taking a cut off the top.
Yeah.
They're saying, yeah, if you want to sell a game on this app store, you come to me. I help you out. And people come and go through them. So they're doing the mafiosa thing. So they're playing real life Mafia Wars is what they're doing.
If Zynga came to me, right, and I had this game that I thought was pretty fun, and they're like, hey, we'll publish it for you. I don't know if you could say no to that. I mean, because they are such a powerhouse when it comes to those games, making money off of them, it would be really tough to say no. I mean, do you think that you're confident enough in your own game that you could put it out by yourself and it would still be okay?
Yeah, it's probably just for marketing. Like you could spend like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars marketing this game yourself, or you can let Zynga put out a press release and all of a sudden get coverage on every website ever.
Exactly.
So yeah, it definitely makes sense. It makes me wonder kind of what their partner program is. I know Apple takes 30% off the top on the App Store. What does Zynga take? Maybe 20. So you're only getting 50% of your sale price.
50% of like 1 million downloads, though.
Exactly. Like if you're making $1 million, it doesn't matter if you could have made 1.3 million. You're still happy with the $1 million, because if you would have tried selling it yourself, maybe you'd only made a couple 100,000. So
if you were lucky, I mean, not anybody can just go on there and make a Tiny Wings, and people like that get really, really lucky. I mean, yeah, they've got a good game, but unfortunately, as we know, because we're always looking at the industry, good games sometimes don't sell.
Exactly.
There's a lot of good games out there that just are not popular.
Exactly, and especially since they had another experience on the App Store with Dark Meadow, and it didn't do so well. I mean, it sold well, and then they tried to put some in-app purchasing system into it. So if you paid $5 for this game, and next thing you know, you can't do anything with it, you have to buy in-game currency to continue. Then they said, okay, yeah, we screwed up, we understand that. So they ended up taking the game out of the App Store. They came out with a free one which just had the IAP in it, and then they came out with the other one, took all that stuff out. So if you've already bought it, you get all that stuff ripped out, and it was a huge mess. And they probably spent like thousands of dollars on support. They probably spent tens of thousands maybe on development to get all this stuff done. So this is probably going to be a really good deal for them. They can let a big company deal with all the heavy lifting, and they can just do the development and the real creative stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And as long as Zynga isn't there as a producer, where they're like, listen, the game has to be like this, or you got to make these changes.
Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with that partnership, because it just helps out that developer make money, and then they can make another game.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. So I've been loving this game. I'm about 2.5 hours in, 3 hours in. So about a third of the way, I guess, through the game. It's fun. It's whimsical. The controls are decent. It's just a great game. It has a really cool kind of like item building mechanic. Before whatever happened in the world, I don't want to spoil any of it if you're going to go in and experience it, but you were an apprentice of the blacksmith in town, so you can make your own weapons, and you find, by killing these enemies, you find these little shards, and you use those to basically make metal that is powered with a specific power that you can then forge into different weapons. And not every weapon is available right from the start. When you're going through the different worlds, there's blueprints and other things that you find. So they've made it definitely like a really kind of Zelda-y kind of game. You're looking for stuff, you're finding secrets, you're building stuff, you're making your character better. And of course there's in-app purchases as well. So if you don't want to spend the time and you want the game to beat itself, you can go buy a bunch of money and do that fun stuff as well. So anyway, great game.
I'm looking at the screenshots here on the iOS store.
Yeah,
it looks really good. I mean, it's $7 though, which is quite a lot to spend on an app, but this looks like there is $7 worth of content here. I mean, it looks very impressive.
Yeah, it uses the Unreal Engine, so it's the graphic engine is great. It looks good. They're coming out with a Tegra enhanced version for Android, so they're multi-platform as well. Hopefully some of those really great graphical effects that the Tegra version has will make it back, because I have the new iPad, the iPad 3, which can support a lot of those same features as well. So really great game for $7. It's a steal. I've played less exciting games on my console and paid $60 for the disc. So I don't mind spending $7 if it's going to be a good game. So definitely check that one out if you have a newer iOS device, because it does require a newer iPhone or a newer iPad.
Are you playing it on your iPad or your iPhone?
I'm playing it on my iPad. It supports the iPhone as well, and I did check it out. If I'm going to be playing a game, I definitely prefer on my iPad.
Just because the screen and the speed.
Well, it's a Retina screen, and it's like inches, or I guess a couple feet away from my face, so it looks like you're playing on like a really, really killer television. The controls, your fingers aren't covering the whole screen, and you see nothing. It just works so much better for playing games. So
Totally
I love
agree.
it that way. Cool. And I guess last but not least is a game that I'm going to be playing. I'm not playing it yet, but I just wanted to mention it before we get into the news, is that New Super Mario Brothers 2 hits the 3DS platform on Sunday. So that game is coming out fast and furious. It's going to be here in a few days. It's the
I love how Nintendo is just so against the grain on when we'll launch it whenever we want to launch. Yeah, Sunday sounds good.
They always do Sundays.
It's so weird.
Do you know why they do Sundays?
I don't.
It's a trivia thing. Because when they used to release games on Tuesday, the Japanese economy would shut down. Kids would skip school. Businessmen would call in sick to go pick up whatever the latest game or hardware was. So
Really?
Japan actually came out with a law saying for a while that you couldn't release big media events on a weekday because it was affecting the economy. So Nintendo, for pretty much ever since then, they release all of their big consoles and games on Sundays. It's kind of the Nintendo thing that they do.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
That is very interesting.
How amazing must it be to be a company that's so powerful in a country that you do something and the country shuts down because you did something?
How scary is it, though, that people are so addicted to your product that the country shuts down?
Well, it depends.
That's another way to look at it.
If you're on the outside, it's scary. If you're the owner of the product, you're just like you're laughing around, throwing money in the air, and diving into your Scrooge McDuck sized vault of gold coins that you like to swim around in.
Yeah.
That's fun. So yes, New Super Mario Brothers 2 comes out. It's kind of a newer version of New Super Mario Brothers, obviously, since it has a 2 at the end. This game is different in the way that instead of just beating enemies, stomping on their heads, and collecting items, the whole game revolves around collecting coins and getting as many coins as you can. So there's items that you throw a golden fireball at a bunch of blocks, and those blocks turn to coins. There's coin rush modes. There's even a tabulation of all the coins that you've gotten as your playthrough, and there's a race to get to 1 million, so you can race with all your friends to see who the first person to get 1 million coins is.
Cool.
There's a global coin counter, so you can see all the coins in all the games in the world, what that number is. So, and this is also really interesting. This is Nintendo's first digital download for a full release. So
Yeah.
if you own a 3DS and you want this game, Sunday at midnight, so I guess Saturday at midnight, like 1 second after midnight or whatever the store happens to be in your area, it's probably going to be like 1 in the morning for us here central, or 2 in the morning, but depending on where you are in the world, you'll be able to actually just open up the eShop and download the game and pay your $60 or $50 and do it that way. So
Is it really that much?
no, I think it's $39.99 actually. So
Okay.
whatever the actual retail price is. Whenever I talk about games, I always say $60, even though I'm obviously talking about a DS portable game. So yeah, I think it's $39.99. So you can pay your $40 and you can download it, and then go to bed and then wake
It is
up.
also coming out as a physical cart, though, right?
Yep. So
Okay.
it's available in both things. So Nintendo has the Club Nintendo, where you buy a game, you get coins online, and you use those coins to trade for physical products. They're doing a special for this game where if you buy the physical version, you get 50 coins, which is the normal amount for like a AAA kind of 3DS release. But if you buy it digitally, you actually get 100 coins. So they're trying to push people to downloading it digitally. Obviously, because it's the same price, and they're probably making $15 more on that because they're not paying for shipping, they're not paying
Yeah.
for packaging, they're not paying for printing. It might even be something like $20 or $30 more. Like, who knows how much it costs them to get the product into your hands, because everybody along the way has to make a little bit of money off this process.
Yeah, you know what? Nintendo finally understands, or at least realizes, or at least has discovered the fact that there is this thing called the internet, which apparently is this great delivery system for things.
What kind of bizarre world do we live in where Nintendo has a YouTube channel? They're talking about creating a social network for their next console.
So crazy.
They're digitally downloading or distributing games for people to download. Like,
And not only that, but like rewarding you twofold for doing that.
yeah, it's a strange world we live in. this Nintendo world of ours. So also along with the new Super Mario Brothers 2 that comes out on Sunday, that's also when the DS or the 3DS XL is coming out. So for $200, you can get a bigger 3DS, bigger screens, 90% more pixels. So it's like double the resolution, double the size. Sorry, the resolution is the same. It's double the size for your top and bottom screens. Better battery. This battery doesn't last 3 hours like the 3DS. It talks. Sorry, it's not. It's it talks. Why am I saying talks? It lasts longer. So instead of 3 hours, it's probably going to be more like 6 or so.
That's impressive to double the battery life.
Yeah, on a portable like that. So I'm really on the fence. I really want one, but I paid $250 for my 3DS because I bought it early.
Yeah.
So I got the ambassador program. I got all those free downloads, but do I want to spend another $200? I'm not sure that I want to do that. So we'll see. I'm going to go pick up the game bright and early Sunday morning, and we'll see if they sway me into buying a version, a bigger version of my 3DS. Basically the same thing that I already own, just bigger. But I'm getting older, so maybe that extra size will help my eyes. Who knows?
Just hold it close to your face.
Okay, I'm not that old yet. You're supposed to say you're not that old yet, Lloyd.
No, I will not say that.
Yeah, I know. You make fun of me all the time. All right, so that's about it for what I've been playing. Anything else to add before we take it into a small little musical break?
You know what? Something just popped into my head, and just really quickly. I downloaded this game on the iOS, and what the hell is it called? It's called Mix Genius. It's like this bartender game that apparently was a Flash game. You just tap on drinks and mix them, and this French bartender drinks it and sees what it's, if it tastes good or not. It's a very addicting game. It's free, and if you have a few minutes to kill, because that's really all you'll play it for, go and pick it up, because it's kind of fun for a while, and then it gets boring. But, for a half hour or whatever for a download, it's pretty solid. It's just a stupid little game that, like, I've been almost... I want to say addicted, but like borderline addicted to, where it's like, oh, I mixed up that drink. Like, let's try one more. And then it's one more. And then it's one more. It's like, Jesus, I'm glad I'm not drinking these, because I would be just totally, crushed after this. But stupid little game called Mixed Genius is actually pretty fun.
Cool. Awesome. I've never seen that one. I might have to go look into that one, because I like drinks. So it'll be fun. Yeah. Before we get into, we're just getting into a little musical break, take a small break and play a track for you. But I see a lot of people are watching the live stream right now, but they're not in the chat room. Right below the live stream window on vgpodcast.com/live, you can type in your username and hit connect, and you actually come into the chat room. There's a whole bunch of people that are chatting, they're coming in, leaving. It's a fun place. You can talk to us that way. Just a little bit of an extra thing that we put in there for when you're on the live stream. So if you're watching this, do check that out. But people that are listening and podcasting are like, I can't do that because I'm listening on a podcast. No one's there when I do that. So sorry for annoying you guys. But
then those jackals better come here and watch it live.
Exactly. So anyway, we're going to take a small break, and then we're going to come back. We don't have any reviews for you this week, which is kind of strange, but both Jeff and I have been really busy. So we're going to take a small break and then come right into news. So we'll catch you guys in a few minutes. I'm going to be playing a track. Of course, we love Starship Amazing. They made our music for us for the intro. They love the show. So I'm going to be giving them a little bit of props and playing a great track called Born Like This Into This by Starship Amazing. So check it out. We'll be back in a few minutes. Alrighty, we are back. Sorry, I just had an issue with my mic there. We are back. That was a great track. I like that one.
Yeah, it's a good one. That is from, well, actually you can get it from the I think it's called the Robot Trilogy, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and that is available for free. It's a compilation of a lot of their robot themed albums, but it originally came out on an album called Apocalypse and Binary Memoirs of Gerhardt Dekrion. I think it's the first or second track off that album.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I love Starship Amazing. I listen to all their stuff all the time now. After hearing about them on the show for the first time, the radio show for the first time, it's definitely a really awesome group. So go check them out, starshipamazing.com. You can download some great stuff for free, some stuff for pay as you want, or some albums for $10 a pop. Each and every one of them is worth it. So go check that one out.
And they are working on new music, but they just had a big computer crash, so they lost a lot of their work. But they're back on track, and they're doing live shows now, which is really cool too. In Anchorage, see the videos pop up on Derek's channel, who's also the Happy Video Game Nerd. If anybody's ever seen him on YouTube before, and I've been talking with him, and they're making music, and they're really excited about this new album, and so am I, because I'm just always excited when they release something new. And it's been a while since they released an actual album, which is really, really interesting. So I'm pumped.
Cool. Maybe we can get them to come play Winnipeg, and then we can interview them when they're here live.
That would be awesome. I doubt that they will do that, but that would be awesome.
Cool. All right, moving on. Let's get into the news. First up, some big kerfuffles happening on Twitter today. There was some news leaking out that OnLive, the company OnLive that does the great cloud-based streaming gameplay system where you can play console and PC games through the interwebs. They called an all-hands meeting at 10 a.m. Pacific and essentially fired every single person that worked for the company. So
that's a bad meeting on a Friday.
That is not a great way to go into the weekend. So Jeff, why don't you tell us a little bit about kind of what happened and kind of maybe where OnLive is going now?
Yeah, so I've been really interested in OnLive since I remember Tom and I doing a piece on OnLive when we did our GDC 2008 coverage when we had the YouTube show for the bonus stage. That's a long time ago, and I've been not necessarily a big fan because I never actually purchased anything from them, but I've been watching them because I think that this technology is still way ahead of its time and very interesting. But unfortunately, I guess not a lot of people feel that way, or at least not a lot of people are paying for it because, and I've known from articles that I've read in the past, 6 to 8 months, they've been hurting for money for a long time, and this technology isn't cheap. So I guess what happened is the money ended up kind of running out, and it appears that with the updates that we've heard from the story, another company may have came in and bought. I'm totally blowing my words here. Another company, an unknown third party, has actually purchased the company, and they might be rebranding it or keeping the tech and trying to do the same thing. But the company is like gutted essentially. There's I believe there's 1 or 2 people left from the original place, it's not looking good for them, which is tough because if it wasn't for them, there'd be no cloud gaming. There would be cloud storage and stuff like that, but this is a company that came into the game in 2008 or showed people what they were doing, and we couldn't believe it. And it's still very hard to believe that I can log into OnLive on my Mac, which is from 2008, and play a game that was released 6 months ago and have, as long as my internet connection is strong, have no problems playing it. And that's very impressive. And it's going to be impressive for a long time. I don't know of anyone else that can do that, except until we get to the next story, which actually might be connected somehow to this story. We just don't know yet. But it's very interesting. Have you ever tried OnLive, Lloyd?
I've used their OnLive viewer to watch kind of live gameplay as it happens. I didn't actually try to play a game. I always wanted it to have a proper launch in Canada, so you could go to Future Shop or Best Buy and buy the OnLive controller and basically just connect to your Mac and start playing the games. I was kind of waiting for the full package. Maybe I waited too long because maybe that's never going to happen. Who knows? One interesting thing is, like you said, it is bought from a third-party company, or a third-party company bought them, and basically said there was a note that came out that said they're going to be keeping the service going, which sounds kind of odd to me, because if they got rid of everybody, like, who's going to be managing the servers? So maybe some of the server teams around. But OnLive, basically, if you're not familiar, it's cloud gaming, and the way they do that is they have like racks and racks and racks of PCs and consoles and other things. And when you play a game, you're actually playing a game on a physical piece of hardware. So I don't know how that service can really scale. Like, if you get 1 million people joining OnLive and they all try to play at once, you need 1 million pieces of hardware all working. So maybe that's kind of what they ran into. Maybe there's latency issues. Who knows what the big deal is? But
I heard tech-wise that's what it started off being. But in the last couple of years, they've made improvements where they did different threading through GPUs and stuff, so that
they're running in virtualized servers. So basically they have clusters of virtual servers, but you're still physically running when you play a game. You're running on a physical piece of hardware, even though it's in a cluster. So they put these big cards into a system and run VMware on it, for example. It's probably not VMware, it's something custom, but for people that might be familiar with VMware, so you might have 64 CPUs in a big box. So you're limited by that. Like, you can't really have more than 64 people playing a game, because games aren't like applications that sit a lot of time and don't do anything. Like, if you're running Excel in like a version of Windows, your CPU can rest a lot, and that CPU can then be freed up and given to other people. In a system like OnLive, where latency and stuff is really the most important thing. I mean, the scaling always kind of confused me. I don't know how that is going to actually work. But anyway,
do you know how many, like, I don't know if there's, might pigeonhole you with this question, but do you know how many people were actually paying for OnLive, the service?
I
don't either.
I've never seen any numbers released, so I can't think it would be that high. But you never know. It first started out as you would buy, instead of going to the store and buying a $60 game, you would go to OnLive and buy the same $60 game, and they would own your copy in whatever archive that they have. That didn't sit with a lot of people too well, because it's like, well, no, if I'm buying a $60 PC game, I'm just going to put it in my $3,000 PC that I had to build to play this game. Why would I want you to hold my copy that, if you go out of business, I'll never get? Which kind of happened today. They then moved into a thing where you pay a monthly fee, kind of like Netflix, and you get access to a whole pile of back catalog games. And then if you really want like the latest and greatest, you can go buy that one at a discount.
You can also rent as well too, if if you don't want to, like in the beginning anyway. You could rent. It was like $5.99 for 3 days or something like that. And then you can extend it for like 99 cents a day or something. It is still a very impressive piece of technology. The fact that you can have a controller or a keyboard in front of you, input game commands, and it's so quick to the server that renders the footage and then pushes it back to your computer. I mean, when I played games on there, like I played Just Cause a couple times, and I played shoot, I can't remember what it was, but it was an RTS game. And, there was no lag, and my internet wasn't fantastic. It was, regular broadband kind of internet, the stuff that you pay $50 a month for. And I never had any lag. It was actually very impressive. But you're right, there is a very real, troubleshooting part where it's like, if we get 100,000 or 200,000 people playing at the same time, and that's a lot of friggin', energy and CPU needing to be used there. So maybe that's something that screwed them up. But at this point, we also really do not know much. We know that the place filed for bankruptcy, everyone's fired, and some third-party company bought it. So it's going to be definitely something I'm going to be paying attention to over the next couple of weeks, because I am still very interested in OnLive as service and as technology, because I think it's still very advanced.
Exactly. Cool. All right. Well, that's OnLive. Hopefully we'll hear more about what happened with the company next week. It would be cool if someone like Xbox, like Microsoft or Apple or some other big player bought them as kind of the next thing that they're going to be offering. It's probably some crazy group of like Chinese or from India or something. Some people that have a lot of money bought it to do something. Who knows? Maybe they want to run it as a supercomputer. Who knows? But anyway, OnLive hasn't gone anywhere yet. Apparently the service is still running, but with the whole company being fired and a new company coming in, like who knows what's going to happen? Like is the service going to be OnLive in a year, or is it going to be something totally different? Who knows what the deal is? All right, moving on. The next story coming up is, since we're talking about cloud gaming, GameStop is apparently launching a streaming service next year. They already do kind of the game rental thing. Now the game sales, obviously they have the digital download, is what I wanted to say, system happening. Now they want to offer a streaming service. I don't know about this. They don't seem like a company that I would trust to set up a robust server farm and keep my credit card money. And it's also,
I barely trust them to sell me a game, really. Like I feel like I should be going somewhere else when I go into a GameStop.
Yeah,
you know,
it's dirty.
PNP Games, that's where you should go.
To where? Sorry, PNP. Yeah, definitely. If you're in Winnipeg, shop at PNP. They are the best service in town for games, new and used. They have it all. Definitely go check them out. But for GameStop, like, what's their service going to be? Like, you go to play a game and it says, do you want to pay $1 for stream protection? For do you want to pay $1 to get reminded in an hour to come play it again? Like, when you go buy a game there, they ask you like 50 questions before you can actually give them your money. Is that same sort of service going to happen online? Like,
I got to imagine that it's just going to be upsell.
Yeah, yeah, and don't they own that big Flash website for Flash games? I'm trying to think of the name of it right now.
Congregate?
Yeah, like didn't they buy Congregate? Was that them?
Oh wow, I hope not.
I think so.
I love that site.
It was either them or the GameFly dudes that bought Congregate. Someone bought Congregate a long time ago and been running it. So if it's GameStop, obviously they know that physical media is dead. Like, you used to be able to go into a GameStop or EB Games and see DVDs for sale and Blu-rays. That's gone. Now a lot of games are coming digitally, so they try to sell you the digital download. They're also like, I read an article today where they want to have a service where you go to their service to buy your DLC. So you give them real money for your map pack for Halo 17, and they send you a text message with your download code. You click it, which then activates it on Xbox Live and then starts the download right away. So
that's pretty cool.
Which is awesome, but I would just do it from my house then. I would go to GameStop to buy my game card, maybe to get my Xbox Space Bucks to then put into my system and do it that way.
I don't really want them to have my phone number.
No, like I don't know. I don't know. But at least they're diversifying and they know that their time's limited and their days are numbered. So I don't know. Streaming service, do you have anything else to say about this other than it's rumored and
well, actually it's not rumored.
Or sorry, it's been announced, but we don't know much about it.
Yeah, we don't know much about it. I will, however, come in on something else that you said. I do not believe that physical media is dead. I do not believe that it will ever die, because it's been about a decade worth of MP3s now, and CDs are still as present as ever.
Tell that to the people that own HMV. Tell it to the people that own Tower Records, which shut down. Tell it to all of the CD trading places.
But those are people that did not move into an online distribution. You know, bookstores also did the same thing, but people still buy books.
Right, right. I mean, they're probably not going to go away for a long time. But I mean, vinyl's dead. But you can still go buy vinyl versions of certain albums. There's collectors that want that stuff. So there's special pressings of vinyl that's made. So, I mean, it's not going to go away, but you're not going to go to a Best Buy and see rack after rack after rack of plastic circles. I mean, people are moving online. Like, there was a study that was just done. I can't remember the article. I'll have to find it and maybe put it in the show notes. But they were basically asking different aged people in the States where they get their music from, and kids that are 14, 15 and below, they don't do something like Spotify. They don't buy their music from iTunes. They don't even go out and pirate it. They listen to tracks on YouTube. That's how they listen to music, is they listen to YouTube and they go from song to song to song. Those people will never buy physical media ever.
No.
Like they will not ever go to a store and buy a CD. And probably they won't for very long, at least their children, they won't buy physical media. So its days are numbered. Obviously it's not going to be gone in a year, but I'd say in 5 to 10 years, there's going to be fewer and fewer people that are buying physical media. There's still going to be people that hold out. I mean, you have actual film stock that you keep because you're a collector. There's always going to be crazy people like you that want the physical medium.
I appreciate the compliment.
And I mean, I have a big stack of games here, and this is like a small collection of games that isn't my whole collection. So I like buying physical media, but I mean, in the future, I don't see a lot of people doing that. So anyway,
you know what, and you know, it's tough because you're definitely making a very good case for it, and you know, I can't deny anything that you're saying. That's for sure. You know, you're not wrong. I'll say that, but I feel like there is enough people out there. You take away physical media, right? I mean, especially for games. You're looking at like no midnight launches, you know, you're looking at no, you know, lending people games. And it's just, 5 to 10 years seems like it'd be really, really fast for physical media to drop to a point where it becomes rare, you know? Mm-hmm. And I know you're not saying that it's, you know, it's going to drop out completely in a decade, but, you know, a decade seems like, you know, tomorrow really when it comes to, you know, the future. That's 10 years and very few physical media. I think there's just such a demand for going to a game store and buying a game. And now I think that those game stores, if GameStop is smart, which I think they are because they like to make money, they will adapt and they will rebrand and they will retool their stores to be where you go in and everything you see on the wall would be you know, just those one sheet cards and it says here's your download code for Call of Duty, you know,
exactly
like that.
Which is what I was saying, like they're keen to adapt, that you can do that for DLC now. I just don't see in the next generation of consoles having disc being its only way to get these games. It's going to be both from here on out, and then as the years go on, it's going to be less and less people buying plastic. I mean,
yeah.
Do you ever go buy software at stores anymore? Like no one does. I mean,
that's true.
But
I you know, I would argue that a lot of the software that I buy is from people who can't afford to print it on discs.
Well, I mean, there's that. I mean, I used to go buy discs that were printed. You could see people had photocopied stuff and taped it to floppies, like way back in the day, and because that was the way that you sold software. I bought floppies and baggies before because that's the only distribution method that people had to sell their games. Yeah. But things have changed. I mean, that was a slow time to get from buying 3.5 inch or 5 1/4 floppies to CDs. But I don't think I've bought software on a CD in years personally. I mean, I've gotten Photoshop CS like 5.5 or 6 or whatever the newest version is, which is on DVD, but I didn't buy that personally. That was work that I needed it for my work machine. I haven't bought a boxed copy of anything forever.
The last one I bought was Final Cut 7.
Yeah, so I mean that went away pretty quick when you look at the grand scheme of things. Like anything in technology isn't getting slower; it's getting faster and ramping up. Yeah. Like I haven't bought a physical CD, I want to say in 6 years, maybe.
It's probably the same for me too. But I mean, I never liked buying music.
Oh, I was such an addict. I would get paid and I would go to HMV, which is the local music store, and I would buy 3-4 albums and then go spend time listening to music, partying with friends or whatever. I buy MP3s now. I buy stuff off iTunes. I listen to streaming radio. Like that whole habit of me going to the mall, hanging out, buying music disappeared really fast. And it was the same with like VHS. I had a huge VHS collection, and I still do.
I mean, I buy movies all the time still.
Well, and so I went from buying VHS to buying DVDs to I almost skipped Blu-ray. Like I own maybe 7 Blu-rays when
I don't know very many.
My DVD collection was like 500 discs. Like it was stupidly huge. And then I spent like 6 months basically ripping them to MP4s, and I store them on my iTunes server, and then they're accessible to every Apple TV that I have in my house and every iOS device that I have. Like, I've moved beyond media to physical media for a lot of things already, and I think definitely games are going to be the next thing. But as I said, it's not going to be for everybody. There's still going to be physical versions, but more and more people are going to be buying things digitally.
You know, and maybe it's just in my blood that I still, you know, as much as technology and computers and hard drives and stuff is great, I don't trust it. I still don't trust it because, you know, a lightning storm could knock out everything and I could lose everything I've ever owned. I do not trust something that I can't hold, you know, and even like right down to I never leave the house without a pen and paper, like my notebook and my pen. I go everywhere with it because there's no substitute. Yeah, I can write notes into my phone and even now even dictate stuff into. I don't care. I want to write pen to paper because I know that, you know, only I can either lose it or ruin it, and it would be my fault, right? There's a lot of stuff that can happen to my phone that isn't my fault, and then I've lost that information. And I've always been a big fan of physical media. I like a box, you know, I like an instruction manual. I like, you know, the car. I have right here, I've got, you know, Gauntlet for the NES, like complete in box, you know, Star Tropics, you know, the video games that, you know, you can't really buy anymore except at P&P Games because I like, you know, boxes are great technology. It sounds weird when you say it, but the building and constructing of paper into a box and the, you know, the way it gets put together and the way it fits and, you know, the cover on it, you know, just the colors and it's glossy and everything looks nice. I geek over that kind of stuff.
You're fetishizing it is what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of this, I don't know. It's really hard to explain. I would never, you know, Max is in here right now in the chat room on the show, and he's like, he loves physical copies as well too. I cannot.
Yeah. And
want to get rid of them, you know.
And again, I'm not saying that I dislike them. I love them. I have a huge collection. I'm gaming collecting guy that doesn't like to trade in any game that I buy because it hurts me a little bit inside. It tears away at my soul. But I mean, that's where it's going. And you're speaking about physical copies. You like to have the physical copy because anything can happen to your computer. Well, that's what cloud is for. That's what online backup is for. If your house burns down, every physical copy is gone, and it's gone. So, I mean, it's going to be a slow movement in the industry, but it's happening. I mean, it
definitely is.
And if anything, it's sped up by devices like your iPhone and your iPad and your Android phones. Like, none of that software are you ever going to buy in a store. You buy it all digitally, and all that is doing is training a bunch of young people that is the way that software and games and everything is sold.
That's true, right? I mean, there's you know, maybe 50 games or whatever on this phone that you could never buy in any store other than the App Store. That's kind of weird now that I think about it. Mm-hmm. You know, that I own things that I've purchased with money that is nothing more than, you know, a series of ones and zeros on this phone. It's never will be a physical copy. You can never go into a store and be like, oh, I want to buy Angry Birds. I hope we can never go into a store and buy Angry Birds.
Well, you can do that. You'll be able to do that soon because it's coming to your Xbox and your DS and your PlayStation 3.
Oh my God!
For $40,
what's wrong with you people out there? It's a good game,
but yeah, see, you've kind of contradicted yourself. You do that, and you've already made that logical leap for one thing. So in 5 years, maybe it won't be too hard to make that logical leap, and then you can still collect your box copies of NES games.
Yeah, but it'll be only I'll be 30 years from now, and I'll have no Xbox or PS3 or anything like that, but I'll have this huge collection of NES games, mm-hmm. which might actually be worth some pretty good money by then, but probably not.
You never know. People sell collections online all the time. Anyway, we kind of diverged from the topic a lot, and we talked for about 30 minutes about how physical media is dying. And before the hate mail comes, but please send the hate mail. Even hate mail is mail.
Oh, I'd love to read that stuff.
I love it. I don't want physical media to die, but it is going. I'm buying a physical version of New Super Mario Bros. 2. I am not buying a digital version of New Super Mario Bros. 2 because I want to have that box. In the future, I don't know. A buddy of mine, Trevor, was talking about the fact that he doesn't like buying he doesn't like buying games physically anymore for small games that he can download on PSN, because him and his wife both have PlayStations. They have one upstairs, one in the basement. And if they buy a digital version, they can both play it and they can play co-op with each other. Where if they wanted to do that with a physical version of a game, they'd have to buy two $30 box copies or two $50 box copies to do the same thing. So it's if you know Trevor, I don't know if you've ever met Trevor Wattman. He's set in his ways. He's the best guy in the world. Love the guy, but he's set in his ways, and he's already moving towards buying things digitally. And he's probably the last person I would have thought would do that. So it's happening, but I mean it's not going to be a thing that's going to happen in a day or so. It's gonna take a little bit longer.
Lloyd, the future is now.
It is now.
It's right now.
Oh wait, no,
actually,
it's coming. It's coming. Oh no, there it just went by.
Okay.
Oh, it's coming again. Yeah.
Oh,
anyway, we could do that forever, but we won't.
Yeah. Because they're terrible jokes.
Moving on, you put this story into the show notes. I read this one as well, and I had to shake my head.
It's a great story.
And it's
for
basically
all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, it's the Ubisoft's game director. His name is Alex Hutchinson, and he's the game director for Assassin's Creed 3. And he said the only reason why games like Mario are so popular is because there's subtle racism in the gaming industry. And the person who was interviewing him said, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, just think about how many Japanese games are released and where their stories are literally gibberish, like literally gibberish. There's no way that you could write it with a straight face. And the journalists say, oh, it's brilliant. And then Gears of War comes out, and apparently it's the worst written narrative in a game ever. It's not the worst, but it's pretty bad. But anyway.
I would disagree on that one. I think Gears of War has got a really good narrative. There's some parts in it that are just like really dumb, but I think it's still really well written.
Yeah, and so he continues. He says, I'll take Gears of War over Bayonetta every day. It's patronizing to say, oh, those Japanese stories, they don't really mean what they're doing. And that's kind of how he ended it, which is just like, wow, that's a really bold thing to say. And personally, I don't explain away many things because they're Japanese, except for like Japanese game shows. It's like, I don't say, oh, those Japanese. I just say, wow, I wish we had television like this. Is basically what I say.
Yeah, exactly. Human Tetris is a blast to watch on YouTube. I wish we had crap like that here. But I'll preface this by saying, this guy does make a point. It's not necessarily a good point, but there is a bit of truth in there. And what he was trying to do was, in recent weeks, some people have come on and put their hate on for Assassin's Creed 3 because there's been so many sequels of this game, and they're still kind of trying to find the point of really what's going on in the Assassin's Creed universe. And the person who was talking to this guy is saying, like, why do other franchises like Mario and Resident Evil get away with having new versions of its old franchises every year and nobody says anything? And the guy, like you said, he says, there's a subtle racism here in the business, especially on the journalist side. He might have a point, because you know what? I've never ever heard any flack for, it's the new Mario game. I may have groaned because there's a new Mario game, but I've always been pretty excited for it. Now, that's as far as I can defend him, and even that's like probably the worst defense he'll ever get. Where he's completely wrong is the fact that these games have also built a fan base on not like, Mario 1 had no fan base, but when that game came out, it was just great gameplay, tight controls, a stupid story, but it didn't really have to matter, and just an addictive game. And they have built from that, and they've gotten progressively better every time that they've brought a new game out. With the exception of a few Resident Evil titles, every game has, really gotten better. So he is way off base in saying that, that these games, well, maybe he's not saying that they shouldn't deserve the attention they're getting, but, I don't think that there is a bias anywhere, or I said, racism is a really strong word to use in that situation. I mean, he's definitely off base there, but he does make a small point that's kind of interesting, but he just sounds like an asshole.
I don't know. He cites Bayonetta. That game didn't sell like 1 billion copies. There hasn't been 12 sequels of Bayonetta. He cited
I
a
don't think
game.
there ever,
He's
I think there's one sequel that's coming out soon.
Oh yeah, I heard something about that. Whether it sees the light of day, who knows? But he cites Mario, and the reason why Mario is big and popular is because it's Mario. It started an industry. It started a genre. Every game is awesome because it's Nintendo, and it's Nintendo's like eye on quality. If he said that the only reason why Japanese games sell well is because, well, they're Japanese and people explain it away. Well, there's many Japanese games which are utter total crap that no one buys.
Final Fantasy VII.
Did you say Final Fantasy VII?
I think that game is really bad.
Oh, dude, you like the weirdest things and hate the most awesome things. You are a weird individual.
I know I'm always in the minority on that. Maybe it's a topic for another day, but just, you know what, it's fun. I've played it a bunch of times and I have had fun with it, but it's a terrible translation, and it's, you know, it's way overhyped.
Oh,
way overhyped.
It started. Oh, anyway, we got to talk about this another time. But
6 is better.
Whether the game is better or not, you can't argue that Final Fantasy VII did not start the love of Japanese RPGs in North America.
I will not argue that, because it certainly changed things, and in my opinion, for the better. I think that we'd be in a very different gaming world had it not been for Final Fantasy VII's success in North America. And I don't think it didn't deserve the accolades that it got, because it did kind of push the envelope here and made North American developers step up to the plate and go, okay, here's what we gotta follow, graphics wise and just scope of game, and a lot of good things did come from it. But I still think it's way overhyped. But I think maybe we should talk about that another time, because we could go an hour on why I think it's not the greatest game in the world.
Dude. First, last week you were dissing World of Warcraft, saying it's crap, it looks ugly, and you don't understand why people play it. Now you're dissing Final Fantasy VII. If we don't get any email about this, like, everybody that listens to this must be asleep, because, dude, that's all I'm going to say right there. Just
what else? Mario sucks too. That's a terrible.
Okay.
game.
Anyway, so the one thing that I have to say to counter this guy's argument is Sonic the Hedgehog. There, that's it. Drop the
Good
mic.
one.
Because
drop the mic.
if that came out around the same time as Mario, I mean, it's almost as old, and everybody hates the new franchises. You have the Sonic super fans that love anything that has Sonic in it, but the games have been horrible, and that's why they don't sell well. It's not. They don't sell 1 million copies because it's a game from a Japanese developer. The game doesn't sell well. Every Nintendo game, well, except there's the odd few on the Wii, has been an amazing experience from top to bottom. They have quality. They're like the Blizzard of console games. They don't release something that is half baked. They have quality and polish from top to bottom, and that's why Nintendo games sell. Like, not because there's a Japanese bias. I mean, that's just totally unfounded and crazy. But anyway, maybe,
and just ignorant, plain ignorant.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe they're just trying to drum up some negative press comments just to get more press comments that then maybe will change into sales. So anyway,
and the guy who wrote the article too, by the way, makes a really good point at the end. And he says, for the past several years, haven't people just been bashing Japanese games? And yeah, that's the case. I mean, there has been a big amount of people who are just like, these games are just terrible, just out and out terrible. And who was the guy who put together Braid?
Jonathan Blow.
Yeah, he was quoted at about a month or 6 weeks ago or something like that, where he was at a conference, and they were like, I think Japanese games suck. He just out and out said it, and they were like, oh boy. But you know what? Even Japan knows that their games suck right now, and they are trying to figure out why.
Well, that's why you have Capcom and Konami that are working with American publishing houses and developers, and they're coming out with games which are like, you had Dead Rising, you had what was the one with the guy with the grappling hook on the Lost Planet? You had Lost Planet.
Lost Planet's always been pretty good.
You have games like that where they're saying, okay, if we release this as a Japanese game, it's gonna be something totally different. Let's Americanize it. Let's Westernize it. So they're taking aspects from the Western franchises and baking into their games to various levels of success. Like, Dead Rising was good in some parts and total failures in other parts, and same with and same with like Lost Planet. The game sucked for a lot of different reasons, but it was really awesome for a lot of other reasons. So I mean, it's not because it came from Japan. Otherwise, that game would have immediately sell 1 million copies, according to this dude.
And like you try to think about it. What was the last Japanese game that was touted as a Japanese game that just blew the world apart? I can't remember what it was. I have no idea if it was even in the last 5 years. If a game that has come out from Japan has just shattered expectations, or at least done admirable business in North America without it being North Americanized, as you said. I mean,
well, you have New Super Mario Brothers, you have Super Mario Galaxy, you have Zelda, you have all these other games.
It's hard for me to see those as Japanese games, though,
But they are. They're Japanese games. But the point is, it's not whether they're Japanese. It's they're Nintendo franchises. They put the spit and polish on their games.
Absolutely.
Like if Ni no Kuni comes out and sells 3 million copies and sets the world ablaze, then maybe he has something to say about that. Maybe we're biased about it. I want to play that game. It looks amazing, but it's not what many core gamers are going to want to play. They don't want to play an anime in video form. That's not just what they like. But maybe a lot of people will go and play Mario Kart or Animal Crossing or those games, which are spit polished and awesome, not because they're Japanese, but because there's the quality put behind it.
Yeah, and Max in the chat room just made a good point with Katamari Damacy. That game, it did really, really well over here, but I think it's got more of a cult following than it's actually got like a big like hardcore following. It's definitely a fantastic game, and just one of those like just weird games that you don't see come around very often that somehow works, even though it's just out of this world with ridiculous. Like you're totally right, Lloyd. I mean, tell me the last Mario game that sucked.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what it is. They are always, you cannot play Super Mario Galaxy, even if, I mean, I don't like the game, but I mean, I played it, and it's just unbelievable the amount of creativity and polish that goes into a game like that. It's staggering.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's maybe there's an eye on perfection that is kind of ingrained into a lot of the way Japanese run their business. I mean, maybe,
there definitely is.
Maybe that's it, but I don't think the press is silently and I don't know, without knowing, biased towards Japanese producers. That's just a crazy quote, but again, maybe it's like the dude, I can't remember his name, at like GDC a few years ago that said the Wii is nothing but 2 GameCubes duct taped together, and it's crap, and it should die, and it should never been made. Like, it's just a crazy quote that people love quoting, and I don't know if you'll have a job with Ubisoft in the future. If
I believe that the Wii is actually 2.5 GameCubes taped together.
Yeah, it's 2 GameCubes and an NES taped together. Exactly. It's kind of like an Oreo of gaming awesome.
Yeah, the real irony about this guy's comments is that he's talking about racism, and he looks now like a racist.
Totally.
It's just like
you
completely screwed yourself, guy. I don't know why you said that.
Exactly. Anyway, enough talking about crazy quotes and racism. Let's talk about something that's kind of awesome and something that us gamers have been asking for a while from Nintendo. We've already talked about how Nintendo knows that the internet exists, which blows me away, and that YouTube is something that they use, and that the fact that you can download games, 3 things that we never thought Nintendo would do. But it was leaked today from a design document for the game Project Cars, and it basically lays out kind of what the different achievements and things are. So Prodigal Son, in Gamerscore, it's 2BD. In Trophy, it's a gold trophy. Triple Crown, in Gamerscore, it's TBD. In Trophy, it's a gold trophy. But there's a third column, and it's called Accomplishment. And right at the top of this document, it says the following Xbox 360 achievements, PlayStation trophies, and Wii U accomplishments are available for Project Cars, and total 1,000 gamer score and 1050 trophy points. So it's pretty much been kind of confirmed by this document, if it's real, that the Wii is going to have a full achievement system built into it, which I love achievements, and I know you're kind of an achievement whore yourself, Jeff. So this has got to make you a little bit excited about playing games on the Wii U.
Yeah, it definitely ups the ante, right? I mean, one of the things that I thought, when I first got the 360, way back when, probably it's got to be 06 or something like that, and I bought it, I was like, achievements, who really cares? It's kind of stupid, But I vividly remember playing Bioshock. By the way, I'm just going to cut in here on my story. You just put in the chat room with the 32X. I didn't type my full thing because I was talking. You literally stole the words out of my mouth. You bastard. See, look at that. But yeah, I vividly remember playing Bioshock and getting my first achievement, and it popped up on screen, and I was like, huh, what's that? And I look at it, and I hit the Xbox button, and it tells me, I'm like, I just knew right then. I was like, God damn it. I'm so hooked now. It's ridiculous. So, I love achievements. I'm nearing 30,000. I believe I'm within a couple hundred points. I should get it when I'm, halfway through Saints Row the Third. So I'll be on 30,000, which is something I've been trying to hit for a very long time. Tom is now at like 41,000, that bastard. But so yeah, having achievements or I think accomplishments, whatever the way you want to call it, trophies, who cares, on the Wii U is a good idea because it shows, or Nintendo is showing hardcore gamers like myself that they at least understand or trying to cater to us even more. We've seen some very interesting things with the Wii U in the last few weeks. Last week we talked about Mass Effect 3 being on there, which is very, very interesting to me. I think that this is really, really good, and I can't see it backfiring for them, right? I mean, there was a lot of people who said, oh, PS3, we don't need trophies. Who cares? Who cares? Or no, they were like hating on achievements. And then they got trophies and they're like, actually, you know what? It's kind of addictive. And it makes you want to play the game after you finish playing the game. I go through a game on my 360 and then I beat it. I go back and I look at the achievements that I didn't get. I'm like, oh, I wonder how hard it would be to get this. I wonder how hard it would be to get this. It's almost like there are smaller challenges within the game that have nothing to do with the story in some cases that you can try and achieve, which is really interesting. So I don't see it being bad. I think it's fantastic for them that they realize, hey, there are people out there that like these things. Let's include it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I loved achievements on Xbox. When I was a huge Xbox player, I would buy games because I knew it was easy to get gamer score. And it saddens me to admit that I would buy games on eBay to pad my gamer score. I hang my head in shame a little bit. And then I started playing more games on my PlayStation 3 just because I liked the games that were coming out. And if I'm going to have both systems hooked up, maybe I don't want them all on the same TV. So I started playing a lot more games on the PlayStation 3. And then trophies came out and I was like, oh yeah, they're kind of cool. And they're not as easy to kind of tabulate as kind of like an Xbox Live gamer score, which is why I was happy that when on the iOS platform, your Game Center achievement points are more along the line of what an Xbox gamer score is. So
yeah, you have a dirty amount of it's almost it's ridiculous how many points you have on Game Center for iOS. It's ridiculous.
I do have a lot. And I've been competing with Jared for a while, who's the host of he's Quacko, the host of Touch Gaming, and he's always like 10 to 20,000 less than what I have. I just play a lot of games on the iOS.
I don't know. I'm at 29,790.
There you go. I don't know how many I have. I think I'm close to 20,000 actually.
Yeah, I think you're like 19.5 or 19.6 or something last time I checked.
And I haven't really played my Xbox 360 for 2 years, other than like the Halos. Any new Halo game, I'll fire it up and play the odd game that way as well. So anyway, achievements, I'm happy about it. I'm really glad that Nintendo is kind of doing what the I guess the standard is across the industry, and it just shows that they're willing to listen, where Nintendo of old was, we know best, you'll do what we say. Now it's like, okay, maybe what other people do makes sense, maybe we should do some of that as well. So that really makes me happy.
You know how like earlier, probably about 30 minutes ago, we were talking about how scary it is that Nintendo now realizes that there is a internet. Isn't it scarier that now they realize that there are these things called achievements that we want and they're putting them in? Like, I don't know what's going on with Nintendo lately, but they're scaring the hell out of me.
It's like I said, it's like Bizarro World. They're doing stuff that Nintendo said they would never do. I mean, they're doing DLC, paid DLC.
It's crazy.
They said it was a cancer on the industry, and that was the reason why the iOS platform was going to fail because of the cancer of downloadable content. And now they're coming out with downloadable content for their games. It's like, Nintendo doesn't know what Nintendo's doing.
No.
They know that they're not winning as bad as they were winning before, and they want to get back to that place. So I think they're trying anything and everything to do that.
I got to assume that they've hired, like, Nintendo headquarters in Japan. They've probably hired 6 or 7 guys to sprint down to the game store, the local game store, look at what Sony and Microsoft are doing, and then sprint back and report on it. And then when they're done, they sprint back again the next day and find out. And then they're just like, okay, what do we do? What do we do? What's going on here? Yeah. Wii U's got to be big. It's got to be huge.
Maybe that's why they started figuring out what the internet was, so they didn't have to have people like cacking out from heart attacks from all the sprinting that they were doing. Yeah. They can just do it on the internet now.
Nintendo, you got to come on the show and tell us what's going through your head.
Yeah, Reggie, you're free to come on the show anytime, Reggie. We'll have the Reginator anytime.
Busy. It's E3's over.
Yeah, exactly.
He only comes out for E3, and then he goes and hibernates.
He's an android, actually. He's recharging for the rest of the year.
Well, I mean, the guy's what, 6'9", 240 pounds of solid brass.
Yeah.
He's a robot.
He's a big guy. All right, moving on. There's Gamescom going on in Germany right now, and yeah, there's some interesting things that have come out of Gamescom. The most interesting is that basically PlayStation had kind of dropped a whole bunch of megaton bombs about what their future is, and some of their future games and things like that. If they would have talked about this stuff at E3, we would have been saying that Sony won E3. There's some pretty amazing things. So I'm going to kind of cover them down the road, just kind of quickly. The first one is that PlayStation Plus for Vita has been announced. So if you have a Plus membership, you're also going to get some sort of features on Vita. It's going to be probably free games and stuff like that.
Makes me want to get a PlayStation Plus membership. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, I've been enjoying mine now. I love getting free games, whether I play them or not. I love getting them, so that's always a big plus for me. They've also announced that the online cloud save has moved up from 150 megabytes, which is nothing, to 1 gig. So everybody that has a Plus membership gets a gig of cloud store, which is really great as well.
That's a lot. That'd be tough to use. I mean, there are some games that take, I think the biggest save file I have on my PS3 is about 50 megabytes.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's 1/3 of online cloud for free. Or, sorry, there is cloud storage for free on the PS3, right?
I don't think it's for free. I think you have to have a Plus membership to do cloud storage. It's
Gotcha.
Xbox that has free if you have a gold membership, so it's not really free for them either.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, still, a gigabyte is more than enough. I mean, that's a good 10, 15 games there.
Yeah, the only time that I ever ran into that issue is when my system was uploading a new Skyrim save for every save that I did, because I'm the idiot that kept saving to new save games, and it tried to upload like 150 meg overnight, and I had to go and delete a bunch of stuff to get just the most recent ones up there. A gig wouldn't be a problem for me, so that's a good bonus as well.
I think cloud storage would be fantastic if the the internet didn't suck on the PS3.
Yeah, it's slow, man.
Brutal. I don't understand it at all.
It took me 30 minutes to download a 360 meg demo the other day, and I'm just like...
That would take less than 5 minutes on the 360.
I downloaded Horn, which is a 900 meg app on my iPad, and it came down in like 10 minutes, and then it was installed. Through Wi-Fi. Oh, yeah.
I don't know what the heck is wrong with the PS3, but just the infrastructure built in for networking has just always been terrible.
Totally. Yeah, it's their servers. They gotta fix that junk up. All right, moving on. Another big announcement at Gamescom was that Sony is officially coming out with something that I talked about last week, where when you bought sound shapes for PlayStation through the PSN rather, you got both the PlayStation 3 and Vita version for the same $15 or $12, depending on if you're a Plus member or not. They're officially calling this feature Crossbuy, and it's basically something that they're going to be doing a lot of. So when you buy a game that is Crossbuy enabled, you get the PlayStation 3 version and the Vita version for the same price of what you bought. The first game that's really going to take advantage of this, starting for like a game that you go to the store and buy on physical media, is PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, and also Ratchet & Clank Full Frontal Assault will be coming. So they'll be available on both devices on the same day because they come with the same purchase. So I'm a huge fan of this. I said this is what they need to announce at E3. Apparently Sony's in like a time zone that's a few months out from that, so they didn't hear it, but now they heard it and now they've announced it. So what do you think of Crossbuy, Jeff? I know you bought 2 copies of MLB. You bought the PlayStation and the Vita version. If you could have got it all for $60 instead of $90, you'd probably been a happy camper.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, without question. I just, the only thing is physical copies, right? I mean, there's no way to do that without buying them both DLC. But you know what? If I'm going to save $30 or $40, that's pretty enticing to just like, yeah, what the hell? I mean, how much do I really, especially when it's a sports game, right? I mean, the physical copy of a sports game really isn't going to make a difference on my collection, right? Because am I going to have MLB 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17? Like, that's going to be ridiculous. I'll get rid of every one that isn't the most current. So yeah, I think that for sports games at least, I think it's a definitely good thing. I would definitely invest in it, and especially considering that the Vita game cost $40, $45 with tax, and then I was lucky enough that I got the PS3 version when it was on sale, and it was only $30. But if it was brand new, the thing I would have paid over $100 for 2 games that are the same game. Yeah. And as we've talked about before, the cross play really isn't that quick, especially with MLB because the files are big. But I think it's still, it's definitely something that needs to happen because it'll make the Vita platform a little bit more robust, especially if you're a fan of these types of games that are going to be cross-play. It's still going to be a while before we see a really good cross-play game that isn't a sports game, because at this point it's a sports game or there's Pool on there and some other crappy game. There's your sound game that's on there as well too. So there's not much, but
yeah, I mean they announced the 2 during that press release, or the press briefing. So you have your Ratchet and Clanks, you have your PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, and they also said that it's not just going to be digital download. If you buy a cross-play enabled game at the store, you get a box that has both copies in it. So it's going to have the disc and it's going to have a Vita cartridge that you can then pop into your system. So it's not just digital download. So
okay,
it shows that they're thinking. Not everybody wants digital versions. Like you want your you want your physical copies. So you can do that as well. But you'll just be buying one box of MLB The Show 2014 if it is cross-buy enabled. It's not a default obviously on all the systems, but if a developer chooses to make a cross-buy game, they can then include they can put the little logo on their box and they'll include both versions in the same box, which is pretty damn awesome.
I wonder if they if many developers would make their games cross-buy and forego making the extra $40. But I could see it going over really well for them because they're going to have more people playing the games and possibly more people buying the next year when the new iteration comes out or whenever the sequel comes out of whatever game it is. It's definitely very interesting because it's the only platform that does this, and you want to see it be successful. So they've got to come up with ways that supports it as good as possible, right? So if they're just kind of spinning their, or twiddling their thumbs trying to think, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? Let's make them buy both and then have a way that they can connect them together. It's not really all that good for gamers, So even though we'll still do it because that's the only way we can, it's nice that and it's weird that Sony is thinking of us, that's strange to me.
Mm-hmm.
Sony's the one that's like, hey, maybe we should help these guys out.
Maybe even more strange than the Nintendo thing, because Sony's been super arrogant in the past, and this is not a very arrogant move at all.
I still firmly believe that Sony hates everyone who is for them.
And the thing you got to understand with the $40 game that you're buying, GameStop makes $10 to $12 off of it, so Sony's making like $28, and then there's shipping and packaging and all that stuff. So maybe their $28 game, maybe they're only making $12 on it. So maybe maybe it's in their own best interest to save on packaging, to save on all this other stuff. That just put them all in the same box. I mean, maybe the delta isn't that big for a game that's coming out on both Vita and PlayStation 3. So maybe this will make financial sense to a developer. Who knows? Who knows down the road? All right, last big Gamescom announcement is that the PlayStation Vita is getting a firmware update.
Finally.
Version 1.8, and you're probably happy about this one. It's available on August 28th, so soon, and it's going to finally support PlayStation 1 titles.
Oh my god, this is the fabled 1.8 that we've heard about since 1.1. You know, like since 1.0, we've heard about eventually we're going to get PS1 games. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. I mean, you know, if this would have been great to have on launch because it would have made the PS Vita a little bit easier to buy for $250. Because if there wasn't enough launch games to keep you satisfied, there's still a pretty good library of PS1 games you can go back and buy for $5, $6, $10 or whatever, and just have this really cool PS1 game in the palm of your hand. But they didn't do that, which made the launch really suck.
Like Final Fantasy VII would be a good one to buy.
That would be a good one, and I actually have bought it on my PS3, and we have a hard copy here. So, you know, I would definitely love to play Final Fantasy VII on the go, because I've been waiting for so long for a good RPG on this handheld. I'd play Final Fantasy VII in a heartbeat. But here's the kicker. It's fantastic that 1.8 is coming out, and really the only feature I give a damn about is the fact that we can play PS1 classics. We have no idea what those games are going to be. So for all we know, they could just be a bunch of crappy games. You know, we could get like, oh man, I don't even know. There's a lot of crappy games on the Sony, and I hope that, you know, the games that they bring out are like Resident Evil and, you know, Final Fantasy would be great.
Well, aren't they already taking all of the PlayStation 1 games that are on PSN and making those available on the Vita? So if you already own Final Fantasy VII, or if you own Resident Evil, or if you own the Crash Bandicoots, you can just put them on your Vita, right?
Yes, but...
So I mean, if you've already... Like, I own probably about 15 PlayStation 1 titles on my PlayStation 3 because I like buying games that I've already played a million times, apparently. So I'll be able to just push those up to my Vita if I ever get one, which is kind of a good thing.
The only thing, though, is that nobody has said if all those games are compatible off launch. Like, if 1.8 drops and, like, okay, I've bought all these PS1 games, no one has said whether or not that, like, the entire classics library is going to be available or not, or maybe just a choice selection of games, and they're going to roll them out.
Right.
And that would really suck. I mean, that would piss a lot of people off, including me. I'd be really mad if that was the case. I mean, I'm happy to have it because it's finally here. But if they're like, okay, we'll give you 5 games a week, why? Why not just give us the whole thing, let us buy a la carte, and be done with it? Why do you have to, you know, soft launch everything and be like, oh, well, we'll try it out and see what happens, you know? Nintendo's Virtual Store is the same kind of thing, right? Where there was a bunch of fantastic games that came out, and then they were like Donkey Kong Jr. Math and... you know, a bunch of other crap. Why are you putting these games out? Like, why not just give us everything at the same time? Are you going to lose money if we get everything at the same time? I don't think so. You probably make more.
They're going to lose money over time because when you do kind of a constant launch every week, you're reminding people that the service exists so that they're more inclined to buy games. And you're also keeping that money coming in over a longer period of time instead of like a big $1 million bump on day one and then nothing as things trickle out. So I see why they're doing that. For Sony, they've said multiple times that they want the full PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 collection available online. Well, where is it?
Yeah, where is it?
Like, and I've seen a couple announcements about this PlayStation 1 support for Vita, and it doesn't say for compatible games. So I'm thinking that it's probably everything, but again, they haven't come out and said it. I would have thought that if there was some sort of caveat, they would have come out and said the opposite, but you never know with Sony. You really, really, really don't.
You never know. I'll just round out a couple of the other features that are, you know, less than stellar that are going to be available in 1.8. Funny enough, one of the biggest ones is controls. You cannot. So, like, if I go into my PS Vita right here, right, and I go into the home screen, I can't use any of these face buttons to toggle through apps.
That is
None
so
of the
stupid.
buttons actually work. You actually have to touch the screen, which isn't bad. I mean, it's not a big deal. But the fact is, I've got buttons here, and I can't I can't activate or turn on any apps or move the screen or anything with them.
Do you know why they did that real quick?
No, I don't.
Because they wanted to prove to the world that, hey, we can do it too. Not just Apple can make touchscreen devices. We can do it too. And then they made the thing require touchscreen, which is just totally unbelievable.
That's great for Apple, but Apple only has like 4 buttons on the damn thing. I mean, they don't have any other buttons. It's there's buttons on this thing. So they did that, which is fantastic, and you can get into all your apps and stuff. Cross controller, which is actually pretty interesting, where if I've got a like they give you an example here of Little Big Planet 2. The PS Vita can actually become a controller that's compatible on the PS3 via wireless Bluetooth, which is pretty interesting. So let's say I want to bring a friend over, but I've only got one controller. We both want to play. I can play with my Vita as a controller, and he can play with the PS3 controller, which is really cool. The only downside is that it's not going to be available for every game because there's obviously only 2 shoulder buttons, whereas there's 4 on the PS3 controller. So you really won't only be able to play a limited amount of games because most games that come out on the PS3 use all the shoulder buttons. There's going to be new playlists supported in music, so you can transfer your iTunes playlists over, which is really cool, but you got to use that really junky Sony content manager. The web browser, you can use the rear touchscreen to scroll, which is, I mean, I don't know why they didn't have that before. You don't have to put your screen on the face of it and, obscure your vision. Video playback, there's going to be speed control and repeat play, photo stuff, group messaging, which I've never done, maps for the Near stuff. And then there's also going to be Near will be able to gather information of surrounding Wi-Fi access points without internet connection and update the location-based stuff on it, which is interesting if you use Near. There's now 2 people in my area of Near that have a PS Vita, which, it was me for the longest time, but I rarely use the service. I think it's a much better service on the DS, or sorry, I guess the 3DS, with the, what is it called? Is it, oh man, I don't know. When you have your, it's in sleep mode and you walk by someone who has one.
Street Pass.
Street Pass.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic service, and they're trying to do that here, but it doesn't work the same way. I think they assume that people walk around with their Vitas in their pockets. I don't know anybody who's going to walk around with a $300 device just hanging out in their pocket. I mean, that's a pretty big chunk of change, just walk down the street with it. And there's nothing valuable enough for me to want to do it. With Street Pass, it's actually there's some stuff in there there's fantastic rewards.
The difference with the Vita is I don't know anybody that has pockets big enough to hold the Vita when they walk around.
Yeah,
the thing's pretty damn huge, and it has those sticks that stick out, which would get caught in things. So it seems like more of a handheld that's meant for the house than to carry around with you wherever you go.
They don't stick out too much. When I wear shorts, I put it in my pocket, but I've never put it in my pocket with jeans on. I wouldn't want to snap the stick off and
exactly.
Oh, now I've got to spend $100 to get it fixed or something. I don't even know where you could get it fixed.
Yeah, you probably can't.
Yeah, you gotta buy a new one.
Exactly.
Thanks, Sony. But
cool.
Yeah, so 1.8 August 28th. It's 11 days from now. Is that a Saturday? What day is that?
I can tell you in a second. I would think so. Yeah,
sorry, it's a Tuesday.
Yeah, no, it's a Tuesday.
So and that actually is the week that I'm moving into a house, so we won't be doing, or I won't be on the show for the 31st. But the following week, I'll let you know what games are available and how they play and everything like that, because I will be on that thing so fast, because this thing just, it's a fantastic handheld. It really is. Still not worth the money. Do not buy it, which is tough for me to say because I bought it on launch. But there's just not enough to go with it to make it worth the money that they're still charging for it. And maybe this will be enough. I don't know. I hope it will.
Cool. All right, moving on. Last but not least, at least in price, and that is confirmation that the Neo Geo X is in fact real. We've already got confirmation on that, but it is coming out, and it's officially called the Neo Geo X Gold Entertainment System. It comes out on December 6th, and it is $200. So yeah, if you want a portable Neo Geo, you can do this. It's a little handheld. It looks like a Game Boy Micro, but bigger. It has a 3-inch screen, and it comes preloaded with 20 Neo Geo games. So Fatal Fury, Samurai Showdown, Metal Slug, King of Fighters, and apparently it has an expandability slot. I think that's what they're calling it. Or no, they're calling it the expandable game card slot. So it's not as stupid as expandability slot, which I heard it called before. So essentially, if you want a Neo Geo, you can buy a little handheld for $200, which is absolutely insane. I don't understand why they're doing it. Jeff, are you buying one? You already own a Vita, so
yeah.
you might as well have another expensive handheld.
Do you think this thing is worth the price? I mean, obviously you don't. What price would you pay for something like this?
I remember the Neo Geo Pocket Color. I saw it being, when it didn't do so well, I saw it being blown out with 5 games and the system for $79, and I didn't buy it. I'd probably buy this for $79 though.
$80 might be all right. I mean, you know,
100. I'd pay $99.99 for this because
I think that's a bit much because of how small it is.
Yeah, I mean it's bigger than an iPhone. It's probably about as wide as an iPhone, and it's taller than an iPhone. So I mean it's not so bad. And I've always wanted to own a Neo Geo, and this would be as close to buying an actual Neo Geo as I'll ever get, because I'm not about to spend $3,000 to buy a Neo Geo or an MVS cabinet or AES cabinet. I can't remember which one is the home and which one's the arcade version. I think the AES would be the arcade one. I'm never going to be able to afford that or find one. If I could find a 4-cart AES cabinet, or 4-slot rather AES cabinet, I would buy that in an instant and put it in my basement. I mean, that would just be the best thing to ever own.
But I mean, those things aren't cheap. I mean, it's not like buying a pinball machine where you can get away with $1,000. I mean, you're looking at spending a couple $1,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably similar to good pinball. I mean, if you want to buy like a World Cup Soccer or an Addams Family, something with a lot of moving parts, you're spending about $1,500.
Yeah.
A good Neo Geo cabinet would probably be about the same. But yeah, I'm never gonna be able to find that. I mean, if I could find one, I'd buy it, but I'm never gonna find one that's in like a good condition that isn't gonna like fall apart. This might be the way that I could own a chunk of Neo Geo. But the thing that makes me not want to buy it is I already own most of these games on the Wii. I own a bunch of them on like other devices. I own Metal Slug on my iPad. Like, I don't really need this device anymore. I mean, they've already put every Neo Geo game essentially out on the Wii Virtual Console. Like, it's available digitally if you really want it.
Yeah, and I mean, is it really worth having? I mean, you're not even having a physical copy. It's just, I've got a handheld where I can play it on. I don't know. You know what? I don't think it's worth it. 20 games is a lot, but they're 20 old games, and you know, $200. That's a big price tag. They must think that there is there definitely is a rabid fan base for Neo Geo.
Yeah, totally.
But you know, I'm not one of them, and I wouldn't even buy it for $60 to be honest.
Really, $200 is less than one Neo Geo game if it's a really good game. So, I mean, that's not a lot of money for some of the Neo Geo games, but some of the cheap ones you can find for nothing. But you can find like some of the newer Metal Slugs to buy the game cartridge. You're still spending hundreds of dollars to get that, which is still kind of crazy. So anyway, if you want to spend $200 on a Neo Geo little handheld that only plays those 20 games and expandability coming down the road, but whether it actually works, who knows, you can do it in December for 200 bones. That's
just in time for Christmas. I wonder if they plan that.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's not cheap, man. Not cheap, not cheap. Anyway, yeah, that's gonna about do it. It was a great show. We went a lot longer than I thought we would. I thought we'd be here for about an hour, and we're almost 2. We're back to our hour and 40 minutes that we seem to come in at for every single show. So,
well, neither of us can shut up. That's what the deal is. We just both love to hear our own stupid voices.
And we had some fights this time, which always makes things go a little bit longer.
We should fight more often.
We should. It makes for good radio.
Go to hell.
Jerk. All right, so guys, we love hearing from you. We love that you download the show. Subscribe on iTunes. Do a search for the bonus stage, or just head on over to vgpodcast.com and you can actually subscribe to the show right there. We want to hear from you. We record this every Friday at 10 p.m. So come hang out in the chat room. I know a few people popped in. I know a lot of people were watching just the video and weren't interacting with us. Half the fun comes from talking to us and making fun of us while we say things so that we crack up on air. We got to make a drinking game, make Jeff laugh, and if you do, you get to take a shot. So we're not really paying anything out of it, but you'll get really drunk because it's really easy to make Jeff laugh by saying stupid things in the chat room.
Yeah.
which is good. We also want to hear from you via email. Send us an email at vgpodcast@gmail.com, or you can call our voicemail line, which is area code 505 VG Podcasts. I'm getting the music queued up because I didn't think ahead to do that before I started talking. So, Jeff, thanks again for coming and spending a couple hours with me doing the show. This is so much fun.
It's a good Friday night. That's what it is.
It is a lot of fun. My voice gets hoarse by the end of the show. As you can tell, I sound a lot different now than I did at the start of the show. And that's because I did it back to back. So I've been talking since about 7 o'clock and it's about midnight. So
he means 7 o'clock a.m., by the way.
Yes. Actually, I was up at 4:30 a.m. So I'm about 4 hours away from being up for a full 24 hours. So
your wife must be deaf. I have to assume that she's deaf.
Maybe. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in to yet another bonus stage. We'll talk to you next week. Take care.
Peace.
Let's get started.